Thanks so much for hosting tonight, Tracy.
Yeah, no problem. I think he sets it up so that a couple of us can start the meeting without him, just in case something happens. So yeah, it's cool. It's all good.
Thanks. Good evening, Tom.
Hello, I got connected.
Great. We'll just wait a few more minutes here for everyone to log on.
So I finally got Zoom figured out, and then I know Ocean Beach is way ahead of me. Now I have to learn WebEx.
Yeah, lots of different platforms for lots of different organizations out there.
Yeah.
I actually think that we might be the only one using WebEx. And it was
really?
it was only because we got burned, that first meeting with Zoom. So, it was like, that's it. Andrew's like, once burned, not going to do it again. So, but it's functional, and they've done a couple of upgrades, which makes it kind of a little nicer to use. So,
hello, folks. I'm Howard Greenstein. I registered, but under my picture, you can see my name is M. Radley. That's because my wife set the WebEx up on our computer, and so depending which program we're using, it's either her or me.
Hi there.
Hi.
Are you affiliated with the park organization as well?
Yes, I am.
Great.
Howard is our group expert because Howard was a professional park planner. So when we get in trouble with a question, we ask Howard's help. Okay.
And then I try my best.
That's okay.
Great. Well, we are looking forward to hearing your presentation and discussing that a little further. Tonight, I think we're still waiting on a few more members to have our quorum.
Nicole, I have a question.
Sure.
So Robb Field is counted in the park acreage for Ocean Beach, right?
I don't think it is. It's part of the Mission Bay Parks
Okay.
parcel.
I'll have to look that up. I mean, Robb Field is a great area, but it's used by people, many different communities, right? Yeah. So when my son played baseball and soccer, we don't have facilities in our own community. So he went to Robb Field, and that must have been hundreds and hundreds of kids like that.
Right. Yeah, there are quite a few, youth sports organizations that use that field. Certainly, people come from all over, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. It's a real important place.
And I believe Nicole is correct. Even though it's on the south side of the river, it's considered part of Mission Bay Park, which is, as you know, a regional park. So it's not counted as the population-based parks.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi, trying to clean up my computer here so it doesn't lag. How many members do we have on this committee?
I think we are at 7 now. Derek stepped down from the planning board. I think he got a new job, I heard. So congratulations to him. So we are at 7, which quorum I believe is 4. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I believe Andrea and Mandy should be joining us here tonight.
And yesterday, Nicole Burgess was in Mexico and she phoned in. So I'm not sure if she'll make it, if she's trying to get out of Mexico or whatever, what's going on.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Well, they're not keeping people in Mexico.
Right.
Unless Mexican, then it's a different story getting across the border these days, which is kind of crazy.
Not going to drink that, are you?
What, my waffle cider?
Hey, it's after hours. You can do it.
It's Earl Grey, I swear. Oh,
Oh, Dan's here. Okay. Hi, Dan.
I'm going to go ahead and send a text over to Andrea to see if she'll be joining us.
Yeah, hi Tracy. My dogs were barking. I didn't have my mic on.
Oh, now I can't see you.
Well, maybe if I
Oh, there you go.
okay.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Haven't seen you in a while.
Indeed. By the way, I get a magazine that you do the editing on it for the UCSD.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is that?
Timers magazine.
Oh, okay. I guess I do kind of help with that.
Are you saying you don't remember?
It says you do.
No, I do a couple of newsletter layouts for them. So yeah, they made me put my name on that. So yeah.
That's great.
I'm in that research study.
Oh, interesting. They have a lot of really great studies. A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and they're a great team of people. One of my favorites to work with on campus.
All right. Andrea says she'll be joining us in just a moment.
Rightio.
And I believe that everyone here tonight that's on the board was there at our last parks meeting to sort of hear the initial presentation from the park organization. Is that right? Kevin, Tracy?
So I saw this presentation. I've seen this presentation multiple times actually. So I don't know if it's from the I mean, yeah, I've seen it multiple times.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Good evening, Andrea.
So we're just missing Nicole Burgess and Mandy.
Okay. I had thought that Mandy said that she'd be able to join us, but since we have quorum now and quite a bit to cover, let's go ahead and get started, and hopefully she can join us down the road. Okay. First off, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting? No.
Do we even
Did those go out?
I don't know.
Posted somewhere? All right.
Who's technically the secretary?
I am. They're all in the drive.
Oh, well, I didn't grab them from the drive, so that's my bad.
No, it's okay. I probably didn't tell you that.
Okay. Well, I guess we're skipping the minutes.
Okay, let's go ahead and skip the minutes then. Sorry, I lost my video feed here. Can you guys see me?
Nope.
We can just do the minutes and after at the end.
Okay, there we go. Great. Then can I get a motion to approve our agenda?
I'll motion to approve.
second? Can I second that?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
All those in favor?
4. Okay.
Wonderful. Well, let's jump right into our discussion with the park organization. We have Tom Mulaney and Howard,
Greenstein.
Greenstein,
Thank you.
to present on what changes you would like to see made to the city's master parks plan.
That's right. So are you ready for us, Nicole?
I think so. Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, so let's take a look. I've got it opened, and let me click share. And we were able to last time. So my application window should be able to.
Andrea, I don't know how to assist with that if there's problems with sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, this says I need permission.
We don't have our.
That would be from the host, I think.
Yes.
I am a host. Can someone walk me through how to do it?
Do you have a share button at the?
I have a share button, but I'm trying to make Tom able to share. I'm even trying to make somebody else a host. Oh, wait, here we go. Wait. Change role. Okay, Tom, I made you a co-host.
Now I'm a co-host. Let's try that again. So
Okay.
I'm gonna share my application, and now when I go to click on application window, it doesn't give me a choice. Let's see here.
You should have a button at the bottom, mute, stop video, share. That's really the only place to share content.
Say that. So let's see it. Hold on a sec, because it says connecting. 1 second here. So Kevin, was that your instruction there?
So next to the mute and stop video button at the bottom of your screen, there should be a button that says share.
Yeah, so I click share. I don't need to stop video, I just want to share. And then it asks me if I want to share my screen or the application.
Share your screen.
Share your screen.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so if I share my screen and I switch to the PowerPoint, I'm now viewing the PowerPoint.
But we're not.
You're not. Okay. Okay, so sharing my screen is not.
You shared with the full board.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
So I would like to. It's different.
Can you possibly email it to?
Yeah, I can do that. Well, let me just try once more here. I am a co-host. I am a co-host. So if I click share, let me click application again, and for some reason that does not work. So when I tried to click my entire screen,
Maybe then you can just email it. Oh,
So Andrea's sharing or somebody's sharing. There you go.
there we go.
Okay, we've got it.
okay, I got it.
All right.
I got it. I think what I did, I didn't click on the right thing and before I click share your entire screen. Okay, so we're ready to roll. Thank you for your patience. My name is Tom Mulaney. I work with a group called the Parks and Recreation Coalition. And we consist of a group of former city planners, architects. We have landscape architects who understand park design, and we have community planners like me. We believe that park improvement is a very important undertaking. This is a quote from 1910. It should have the cordial cooperation of all. Well, 1910, the city had lots of parks. Now, as the population grows, I think we're getting squeezed. That's one of our concerns. Let's look at what's been done so far. So CPC took a look at this last summer. They did not have the benefit of input from the community planning groups. There wasn't time, and the city staff said they weren't going to allow time. So the CPC leaders did what they could. They did put out some short recommendations. One, they said there are serious shortcomings to the plan. Whoops, let's go back. Serious shortcomings, and CPC does not support the documents in their current form. Now, our group also got started last summer. We found there were fundamental flaws. The reason we wanted to state that clearly, this is not a plan that can be tweaked in some manner, and we're going to show you some of the fundamental flaws. Now, what's right about the plan? This slide mentions changing needs and priorities now and in the future. Yes, we need to plan for now because there are serious park shortages now, and in the future because there's a lot of new population projected. We feel that the goals can be met, but only with changes to the plan. Let's take a look on what needs to be improved. The first thing we need to do is consider two visions. The vision at left shows some people relaxing in a park. They've got some green space around them. On the right, enough room for some kids to play. So we need relaxation space. We need sports fields. We need all kinds of needs. That's why pocket parks cannot serve the needs of an entire community. Now let's look at the city's vision of a plan. This is their own slide, Parks Master Plan Vision. Now, this isn't their only vision, but this is the cover to their presentation. Look what we have here. We have an asphalt street that they've closed part of, or maybe it looks like a parking lot. They put up a chain link fence. There's a place to let your dog have a very short walk, and there's some tables over here. So look, this might serve for one small part of one neighborhood to give a little more outdoor space. But honestly, can anyone think that that is a plan or the basis of a plan for the future of our city? Let's look at what's expected. There's a forecast that our city is expected to grow by 350,000 people by 2050. That's just the city of San Diego. That does not include the 17 other cities in the region. And you know where a lot of them want to come when they don't have a park in their own neighborhood? They want to come to the beaches. So what are some of the problems with the draft plan? Well, limited vision. It's less parkland for our growing population. It's really, if you read the plan, you'd have to conclude that our city officials kind of want to give up on adding needed parkland. So limited resident participation. Well, they said they didn't have time to talk to community groups. Well, we're talking to community groups and we're volunteers. The planning department has 70 or 80 people. So we think there is time to get input from planning groups. The citywide park fee has some major problems. You may have heard about this. The goal is to take all the money from impact fees and put it into a citywide pot. The city has not explained what would be done next. The point system has come in for a lot of criticism, and we're going to see why. Let's look at one little piece of the point system. It counts a 10 square foot sign with the same point value as a park. So the emphasis is totally on what you put into a park rather than the park itself. But isn't the nature of a park a little space, a little greenery, a little breathing room? Sure, it can have stuff in it, but the stuff can't take the place of the park. Let's look at one aspect of the point system. Now, we know that trees are valuable for cleaning the air. They can provide oxygen. They soak up carbon out of the air and out of the ground. Trees keep our streets cool. But let's look at what the city says about parks. In their case study for Children's Park downtown, they say the way to get more use out of Children's Park is to take out half the trees. Well, if you remove the trees, you don't get any of those other benefits. So that's what some people have referred to as point stuffing. The city, under their new plan, would have an incentive to any community that complains about not having adequate parks. Oh, we'll get some more points. We'll stick in a little soft drink stand over here for a couple points. We'll take out some trees, and then you'll have enough points. So the system is tremendously ripe for misuse. Now let's look at the kind of misuse, and this is from the city's own case study. Children's Park, they're saying that you can take a 1.7 acre park, 1.7 acre park, and by adding amenities to it, which I call more stuff, it's on a par with a 6.6 acre park. Well, that's about 4 times as much. Another example, number 2, take a little over a third of an acre, and by having tables on it and chairs and some potted plants, and it's also near a bus line, and it's also near some food concessions, it's going to serve as if it were 2.2 acres. Well, consider what they're actually saying. They're saying that you can get 6 times as much use out of a park as you can just by what you do in it. And by the way, number 2 isn't naturally a park, it's really a plaza. It's a closed street. So again, Piazza della Famiglia is a very nice plaza, but it's certainly not a 2.2 acre park. Our group strongly supports correcting inequities. We know that some of our communities actually have no parks. Some of them have old and outdated parks that need refurbishing. So that is something that we definitely need to give attention to, and we're all for that. The problem is the city's plan is so vague, we can't really say that the plan is going to resolve these inequities. So to summarize the improvements needed, we need public participation, recreation advisory groups for sure, and community planning groups. Back to that slide. So I think you'd be surprised to think of the city adopting a new plan for the next 20 or 30 years without asking the recreation advisory groups. And I think one reason is those groups would find out that the new plan will lead to tremendous park shortages. So the second item, funding. We need adequate funding. The city's plan is to take money from areas that are having new development and spend the money in other communities. Well, then what happens to the community with the new development? Now, Ocean Beach isn't expecting a lot of growth, but some communities are. Uptown and North Park are each zoned for 20,000 more people. So
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to let you know you have about 8 minutes more scheduled for the presentation and discussion portion of this.
Thank you. So standards, we believe that you need a park acre standard. A sign is not a park. A picnic table is not a park. So we feel very strongly we need the park acreage standard. Commercialization, we do not want to encourage t-shirt shops and so forth in our parks. That has to be limited. So the motion we are suggesting is fairly conceptual. We just want to get some support that we're going the right direction. What we've said is to endorse and support the improvement areas to the Parks Master Plan and recreation element as presented by Park, and to bring to community planning groups and recreation advisory groups for input before bringing it back to the council. So that is our request for you this evening.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. That did go into more detail than your previous presentation to the full board. So that was helpful. I guess I'll open it up to comments from the board. Does anyone want to, or from Dan? Does anyone want to respond or make a motion or discuss?
I have some questions.
Go ahead.
So the commercialization aspect, is that something that's actually going to assign points to some of these parks? Is that being incentivized under this program?
What's happened there is the current recreation element of the city's general plan says to limit commercial use of parks. The draft plan crosses that out and basically says that almost anything goes. It says food and beverage, retail, or other uses. So we're simply asking to go back to the original language to limit commercial use.
If I could,
points though.
Yes, it would get points.
Okay.
Yes, and they have various categories that can get points. One of them is food area, concessions, or clubhouse building, and that would get points.
Okay.
Honestly, I think for the last several months, this committee has been having a discussion about how to increase amenities in our local parks, not the acreage of the park per se, but I think I do agree with the city's evaluation that adding amenities to the parks increases their, conceivable use, because all of a sudden where you used to have, grass, empty space, then you have a, playground or a fitness center or something that people utilize perhaps more than, a grass lawn. So I think particularly with our city's sort of, focus on affordable housing and services of that nature, perhaps it's, I think it's best to focus on the amenities versus the acreage.
Yes, can I comment on that, Nicole? I agree with that in a way. Many of our communities need park improvements. In fact, Ocean Beach overall, the acreage is reasonably close to the standard. The problem with the city's proposal is there's no money for any of the amenities that you would like. There is no new money. The only source of funding that they've really put in the plan is development impact fees. So unless you're getting 1,000 or 2,000 housing units added, there's no source of funding. Now there's the citywide pot, but you'd be fighting with all 50 communities, including the communities that are having heavy growth. So we agree amenities are important, but what we're really saying is both. Some communities need and some need the amenities.
So Tom, if you think about that though, we have no growth here. So, we're not going to be getting a lot of developer or diff fees anyways. So, even if they were to take away the pot of money kind of thought process, we still wouldn't be able to get any money for Ocean Beach improvements. So at least, we're putting it out there that we want amenity improvements, regardless of how they go ahead and divvy up the money at this point. Like I said, again, Ocean Beach isn't really in line for any more fees. We're kind of maxed out, So we're one of those.
Having that big Mariners Cove redevelopment, and I think that'll be the last huge infusion of diff fees.
Yeah, and I agree with Nicole. For some reason, I didn't really see the Parks Master Plan as being a way of expanding the idea of acreage. I saw it as a way of improving what's already there. So, if there are some cities that don't have parks, then they can, add park space and stuff like that, and then they can add amenities. But for places that have park space, I found the plan to be a good solution to coming up with amenities and assigning points to them. So it's just a little differing of opinion from what you guys are saying. And then regarding the motion, I would completely support the second half, but I don't unless I can see your improvements and the ideas that you have in like writing, I can't support the first half because that's too vague for me.
I have some comments, if I may. I just want to throw this out there. I think what's going on here is we have parts of the city that are deficient in park space, and it's expensive to add park space. And so the city can't meet its current general plan in that regard. And so this is a way of moving the goalposts to make it easier. You know, rather than add park space, we can just stuff more stuff in existing parks, which in a place like OB, you know, that seems reasonable, right? You know, we're kind of built out. We're not getting a bunch more units. We also don't have squat for diff coming in, right? I'm curious how this plan and Tom's presentation differs from that in how it would benefit a place like Ocean Beach that is short on diff fees. I mean, we're not going to get improvements and we're not going to get new parks is the way I see it. And we're certainly probably not going to fit in these categories of equity, moving equity around the city. I don't see that coming here either, unless I'm wrong. I'd love to know.
Well, I'd like to address that, Kevin. I think you're right that currently now, there's no funding flowing into Ocean Beach to improve parks. Under the city's plan, there would be no funding flowing into Ocean Beach. The problem with the city's plan is it tries to move an inadequate amount of money around to all 50 communities. So part of our plan, and a very important part, is adequate funding. So what you might think of doing, if you want, is to clarify our motion by stating that the new plan needs to have adequate funding for communities like Ocean Beach that need improvements to parks, but are not expecting large-scale new development.
I'd also like to address that. We agree, and you're absolutely right. Diff fees have never been meant to make up for inadequacies or park deficiencies that are currently existing. They're only to address new development. We also know that the diff fees aren't enough to address all the new development and also address future population growth. And even if the population growth in OB is going to be less than in other areas, you're going to get some new population growth. So what this master plan needs to do is identify many many areas of funding in addition to diff. And we are hoping that this master plan would be a basis of future bond measure to get more money for the city. Now, in order to have success with a bond measure, we need all of the communities to really love the plan and get behind the plan. So we see this as a bigger picture, as a tool for getting more funding for parks, not just for deficiencies, but also for future growth. And that would include adding parkland where needed and adding amenities where needed. So we're asking the city to broaden their approach and work more proactively at identifying more funding sources and creating funding that could be used throughout the city. That's why we think we need to have a better or improved plan. Back to your amenities, I hear your arguments. I agree with a lot of them. But what this point system does, without getting into a lot of detail, it pits amenities against land. And we don't, and I think, Kevin, you talked about that. You talked about moving the goalpost. We disagree with that approach. We really think there should be a land standard separate from an amenities standard or a point system for amenities, so that each community can determine which one they want. And we think most communities need both. They can decide we want all amenities or all land, or most likely a combination of both. but this pitting of one against another, because the goal of the new plan is to get to a certain number of points per thousand population, is just sort of a lose-lose scenario. We're trying to create the opposite of a win-win. Say, let's try to go for all of it. So that's a general approach of what we're asking for. And
Okay, I'm
basically
gonna
saying,
just
you
have
know,
to stop you
okay,
there
thank you.
because we're a little bit over time. I do agree with a lot of what you said. I do think it would be great to see more participation from community planning groups in going forward with the master plan. And I think that the idea of letting communities choose land or amenities sounds great, but like Tracy said, I would like to see exactly what you're suggesting down in writing before I think I would feel comfortable making a motion to support it. But any of the other board members want to make a motion on this at this time, or?
No, but I did want to just jump in, and I do see what you're saying about the acreage standard, but as it stands, if we keep the current acreage standard with your predictions of growth, we would have to find 980 acres of parkland. And I pair that with what the density would come, and that would entail, because that's the only way we're going to get it right if we build up and continually build up. So I think there has to be some give on what the acreage standard is to actually continue to put this in. And honestly, I think the only way you're going to get a give on the acreage standards is then if you give an FAR bonus back to developers who give up land or purchase parkland in those neighborhoods. And I honestly think as we move forward, because this is the future, we are going to have to think about what constitutes a park, because it's not going to be the green, grass on the ground anymore. We might have open space or activated areas and taller buildings that are open to public that can still be used, freely and actively by the public. So I think that's really where we need to be looking. We need to have some give on the acreage standard, but understand that maybe the future of parks doesn't look like the parks we know.
Great points, Andrea.
Can
I
I?
would support a
Yes,
very broad.
Dan had a comment too, so if he wants to read it.
We do have a lot to cover tonight. So let's go ahead, Dan.
I'm just sharing an observation that I have made in numerous locations and municipalities and cities and states, that in my observation since I've been in San Diego, that I would say most studies I've seen been engaged by the city, that the engaging agency already knew what they wanted the answer to be. And they would engage a consultant who is going to share that basic idea and not necessarily just a fresh look. For example, look at the whole idea of Shelter Island. Why would we want to build 1,400 hotel rooms over there and take all this great public open space away? This whole idea of these points and setting it up like this, that doesn't necessarily make sense for a large area like San Diego that has so much diversity in its communities and what's there. Also, whenever you go to any of these study groups, you go from table to table and they never get input from people. It's basically consultants who know what the answer is and they go through the process. I'm being a little sarcastic, but when I heard Tom mention that the Parks Department didn't want to get any input from the local area, to me, that pretty much seals the deal. That's just my opinion.
Definitely. Thank you, Dan. All right. I'm going to call for a motion on this issue.
I I think it would be appropriate if we motion to table it, because I do think that there is some, better plan, and I don't think the Parks Master Plan as it stands is going through. It's definitely getting reworked. It's getting redone somehow. So continuing to have this dialogue about what we want to see out of a new Parks Master Plan is beneficial. And I wouldn't mind having your group back if you guys do end up coming up with some solid, tangible, actionable solutions we can support.
Well, we agree with you on that, and you and others have asked for more tangible, specific solutions. We don't have all the solutions. What we're asking for, I believe, in the motion is to ask the mayor to direct staff to work with us and with the planning groups and the rec advisory councils to improve the plan. We as park can't have all the answers, and we can't take the deep dive or do all the work that city staff can do. We have some general ideas of directions we think the master plan should go in, but that's as far as we've gone. We don't have detailed answers at this point. We're just saying, hold up, don't bring it back to council for approval, and work with the community to make some changes.
That's great, but what you're asking us to do by approving the first idea is you're basically asking us to just say, we agree with whatever you guys come up with, just go for it, and we're going to support it. And without any concrete ideas, I personally cannot support that part, but I firmly support working with community planning groups and recreation advisory groups. So I don't know how we want to handle this. I mean, if we want to table it until, like Andrea said, we get a couple of more concrete ideas for how you would improve the plan, or ideas that, you can put in front of us and we can say, okay, this is something that we can back.
Well, I think, number one, I think you could split the motion, into two separate motions if you want, but I would also ask Tom to, if it's possible, to either put the motions in the chat or back on a slide so that the group here could look at what the proposed motion is. And
I can see them. They're in the chat.
Yeah, the motion is in the chat.
Earlier is that, when consultant firms are hired outside of the city, they're the ones who do end up writing the ordinance, right? We saw it with the STVR ordinance. That didn't really get written by city staff. That got written by outside sources, and that's how policy is made. So I think you very much should write your own parks master plan and start pushing that, and it saves a lot of work and it takes a lot off. I know that's how we're approaching the ordinance for street vending. We're just going to write it for the city and then send it to staff and see what happens. And that's like, they have so many firms now, to Dan's point again, that are doing that already.
I think they're close.
Yeah.
I support some of the concepts, and I think we need to stick with that, and some examples that support each of those concepts. But it almost it's it brings up more questions than answers. We're not full-time city planners, right? I don't know if they have a minimum acreage standard maintained in this new plan, or if that just goes away entirely.
It's gone.
So that's an example of something that's very, very concrete that I think the board would support, is at least the minimum, decoupling to an extent, but some kind of minimum acreage standard. And some of the stuff in how the DIF funds are distributed, I know some communities are up in arms about their DIF funds going into other communities, but that's going to be a hard argument to make, that you don't want equity is really what it would be characterized as saying. So some of those things, I think those, if it's a real solid, 5 or 6 main points that are sort of general as a mission statement, I think that would be much easier to support. I absolutely do support, additional CPG and public input. And I don't know if this would go back to this committee or potentially to the full board. But I don't think we're ready to make a recommendation on this today.
All right, I think you're right, Kevin. So then I'll move to table this discussion.
So Tom here, Tracy's idea of taking the second park would be helpful to us, and I think helpful to Ocean Beach. The danger is this does go forward, and Ocean Beach is recorded as having no opinion on it.
I
Believe
think
me.
we should get on record. I agree with Tom on that.
Yeah.
Nicole moved to table. But I don't know if you guys want to entertain that one first, and then if not,
Well,
then I would move to recommend the second part.
I'll withdraw. I do think that we should look at becoming, more involved in this process going forward. So go ahead with your motion, Kevin.
I'm going off memory on what you had on the screen, but generally speaking, I move to recommend that the Ocean Beach Planning Board request additional time for public input before the Parks Master Plan moves to council.
Do we have a second? I'll second it. All those in favor? All right, motion passes 3-1.
Sorry, I was taking notes.
And, we can always, keep following up on this, but yeah, we need to get on record on something. And the same with the vacation rental thing. It's just, we can't be indecisive forever on these things.
Well, I feel we're always asking for a stronger voice, right? So.
I just don't think the Parks Master Plan, like in any form and shape as it is now, is going to move forward. So I do think we have time on this. And I do want to continue to work with, this group to see what they come up with and what, reasonable policy solutions we can promote. Sorry, I just got back from the gym. Starving.
No worries. All right. Thank you.
But thank you guys for presenting. I've heard this so many times now. I can almost like give the presentation myself. But
Tracy, I wanted to ask that. I think you would be a good presenter. Thank you.
No, I don't want to do it.
Thank you for your consideration. We appreciate it.
And if you don't mind, we're going to go over some of our park recommendations locally. If you guys, want to kind of see at the local level what sort of stuff we're picking apart.
Yeah, I would.
Great.
All right.
So you're welcome to hang on to that.
Sure. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. With that, let's hop over to the presentation. I'm going to try and share my screen. And not sharing files.
Can you give her host privileges?
There we go.
Tracy?
I think it's coming up a lot.
I just did.
And I'm in my Google Drive. Let's see. There was quite a bit to unpack here. Were you able to review it at all in advance? Kevin, Tracy, Andrea? Cool. Why can't I find it? Sorry, I have so many documents with OB at the beginning of them. Parks presentation. There we go. All right. Can you all see the screen?
It's beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you. So community requests for increased park amenities and recreational spaces in Ocean Beach. I was hoping to get this underway in January, so we might have to change that to February. The first slide here really just sort of lays out what our mission statement and vision is for parks in the community. Second slide sort of introduces our subcommittee, was formed in May 2020, and what we've sort of been doing over these past 7 months with our discussions about the different parks in our area and how they can be, amenities can be increased to enhance usability, with a little blurb about each of the parks. And then we kind of hop right into the recreational value park scoring matrix with a little paragraph summing up each of the conversations that we had about these parks. One question that I had was, I think when I had set this up, these tables, I probably don't need to include this first line, recreational value in regional parks / shoreline parks. I think that's a different valuation system. And so I was a little confused on that. I think, though, that this whole top row needs to be deleted from each of these. Does anyone else have any insight on that for me? Tom and Howard, feel free to jump in on that.
Well, I know there's definitely points for proximity.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think you got it right, Nicole.
Okay.
I think you can use portions or give credit or value to portions of resource or regional parks that are adjacent to your community.
Right. Okay. So if we have a park, say this First Veterans Park is bordered one side on a community and one side, is directly on the beach shoreline, I was thinking that would take 2 points, but yeah, like you said, it is a bit of a confusing valuation system or matrix. All right. Well, does anyone have any questions or comments on Veterans Park? This is going to be hopefully a community funded effort. I know that OBCDC is having, quite a few fundraising discussions with local businesses and merchants, so that's going well. And we don't really need to ask the city for anything on this one, but I just thought I would include it in here, of course, since it is an Ocean Beach Park.
And it's a small park, and there's not a lot of activity that happens there that is park-like. I mean, there is some, but it's a little different. Do you guys remember how many points they're saying? There was something about like the amount of point, like if you could get a certain amount of points, you'd have more priority, or maybe
I thought it was 12 points. That was somewhere in that document, but priority would be given to projects that had above 12 points.
Gotcha.
Well, I think one thing that we haven't distinguished is what we have now versus what we're proposing to add. So this looks like it's existing plus new additions to the park. So that would, you know what I mean? So we almost need like a before and after. I know they're doing their own inventory of what parks have what, and I don't know if they're signing.
I had thought of this more as things that we were planning on adding and not what was already there.
Well, yeah.
What's weird though is
in the point system.
I think I saw
like park size. We're not adding park size, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I wanted to mention on this particular one, is that really an acre? That park? I thought it was smaller than that.
It's smaller.
Is it smaller?
Mm-hmm.
It might be. The other ones looked fine though in that respect.
Okay. Sorry.
So I think in Tony's or in Anthony's original like Excel spreadsheet that he sent out, he had a before and after. And I kind of thought about doing that, but it took me so long to develop the one for Dog Beach. I was like, I'm not gonna do the before and after one. But I mean, I think that would be really valuable because then they could see what level of improvement each park is getting by our requests.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's just the after. The before points I don't think they have any significance for our sake. I mean, the city obviously will want to know where they're deficient or not. So you almost had to say our before points are really low, and this is what we're trying to add, right?
Right. I think that makes sense. So then this recreational value and carrying capacity would sort of be the existing points, and then additional amenities and connectivity routes and things of that nature would be on the after end of things, which I think will definitely cut into the point score on some of these parks for pushing them up above that 12 threshold. But, you know, that is what it is.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to cram 12 new points into, Veterans Plaza, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
So sorry, I keep kind of switching in between these because I'm forgetting I'm sharing my screen. But so here we have Saratoga Park, which was one of the parks that did sort of meet that threshold for, asking for the city's support in providing these amenities, especially in regards to having an accessible playground for children ages 0 through 12, with special consideration given to accessibility of the equipment, as well as this adult fitness hub that was sort of requested by the local lifeguards and really got a lot of community support in the many design charrettes that have, occurred to get up to this point of having this design that's really ready to go as funding allows. So any input there? Sorry, Tracy, are you running for the town council? Do you need to get over to the meeting tonight to say your piece?
I'm not running for the town council. I just wanted to see everybody's statements.
Okay.
But it'll be on Facebook, so we're good.
Well, we'll try and wrap this up here. I mean, there's a lot to go through. I don't know do you guys want me to just give you permissions in the Google Drive how do you want to go about unpacking all this?
Nicole, this was amazing. When I was looking through it, I was just in awe of all the work you did for this.
Well, I think, some of this stuff was already pulled together. So it was just a matter of putting all of the things that we had asked for together in one document, which does, look like a lot when it comes down to it, especially considering there's probably not a lot of money in the budget for this. However,
I'd like to go to the prioritization page that you had.
Sure, I think that was at the end.
Because I think that would be something we could possibly move forward with. I know. Have you spoken to Teddy about the Evers Street Park? Because I know
I did hear Teddy say that they are very supportive of making that, requested changes to Evers Street Park. So that was great to hear. Definitely hope to reach out to him shortly. Once we kind of have this dialed in where we want it and present this to him and, hopefully be able to get Dr. Campbell's support.
Can we talk maybe real quick about sort of how we might, it's a beautiful document and I appreciate Andrea mentioning that. I always forget to show my thanks in that respect, but can we talk about how we can make this the most effective tool for getting some kind of improvement anywhere in town? So for example, if there is in fact a priority for a 12-point thing, if we can hit that on one or two of these, that should really be the main focus.
Right.
If we can highlight some other deficiencies in the process and some priorities, then, we can try and hit that as well. I see this as throwing all these little new gadgets around, but then we have this underfunded park and rec department that can't even maintain the damn things. And it's very frustrating. We have a lot of park space in San Diego relative to other cities, and yet a much lower budget per capita. So, I don't want to get too caught up in picking amenities on these things. But if we can realistically get a shot at some of these spaces really being improved, or getting funding for the, Saratoga Beach Park, for example. I think that'd be a big win.
Yeah, I think focusing on Saratoga and Ebers might be a good way to go. Because like Nicole said, I mean, the plans we have for Saratoga are pretty well thought out. Rob Field is under the Mission Bay purview. So we just got to wait until that redevelopment comes along. And since there is will to work on the Ebers Street Park, that should be a big focus if we have their attention with that.
Definitely agree.
We should still, I think, absolutely dusty roads definitely need there's some long overdue improvements there. I get that it's technically Mission Beach, but we don't really have any citizens advocating for that park other than us.
Well, I'm going to hop over to the Dusty Roads Dog Park slide here. I went out one day to interview the frequent users of the park about some longstanding maintenance and usability issues that I've kind of outlined here, having to do with, safety issues of the dogs drinking standing water that could be easily rectified with some gravel put down and shade trees and things like that. So, well, it's not really our purview. I think I have sort of put in a little paragraph here on this slide identifying accessibility and usability issues that should really be addressed, particularly with the ADA accessibility issues at both Rob Field and Dusty Roads. I think that's something that should really be addressed when we start looking at updating those parks, of course.
Yeah, that would be in my top 3, even though it's not in our, let's face it, who goes to Dusty Roads? It's people on the peninsula, people in Ocean Beach. Nobody lives in the Mission Bay. Well, I correct myself. A lot of people actually do live there in RVs. But yeah, it's really our park. So we need to be advocates for it.
Well, you guys know what I'm going to say, but I'm all about the Dog Beach Park. I think it's such an incredibly underutilized area. And it really could be made into something wonderful for the community as a whole and for visitors, not just like the community, people who are going to the parks. But I think that this could be a really amazing location for visitors to Ocean Beach and, local residents, adults, kids, everybody. So I think, and it would also, getting rid of all of that grass and replacing it with something different would be good for the environment. It would lessen the amount of gophers that we have to deal with. I think it's a completely underutilized space, and it actually has the opportunity for the most amenities points as well.
It did have a very high score here with 16 points. I didn't include the points that you had included on your matrix, Tracy, for the volleyball courts because they were existing.
Right.
But
that's where I think it would be good to kind of see what, like a column that is like what it currently has versus what we'd like to change or add. I think that would be more valuable to people, because then they could be like, oh, this park has 0 points and now we're going to give it 16, or maybe it had only 4 and we can get it up to 16, Right. I think as like a cost benefit kind of thing, they might be able to get on board with that. So
I was also a little confused as to whether those were really included in the park. The sand volleyball courts are sort of on the beach, right? Are they a part of the Spray Street Park? Same thing with the dune trails, where I guess would be the boundary for talking about city parkland versus who's in charge of the beach. Is it the state?
Yeah, we looked that up, and the boundaries, surprisingly, because there was like, are the dunes in the walkway area, is that part of the Ocean Beach Park area? And according to, my husband who looked up the map and the boundaries, the dunes are actually part of Ocean Beach, the park. As far as I consider that whole area to be a park space. including the volleyball courts and the bathroom. I mean, because really, technically, the bathroom, if you want to say that it's on the beach, it's not really part of the park, right? So, but it is,
Right.
it's part of the whole park space.
Okay.
So, yeah.
In our previous planning documents, the city has referred to that as Brighton Avenue Park.
Oh,
So I'm not saying we should call it that, but we should reference that at the very least. Maybe Spray Street parentheses.
Brighton Avenue. Okay.
Brighton
Spray Street makes
Avenue.
more sense.
I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for that info, Kevin. Um,
And we have
Well-
a couple other existing parks that probably aren't getting much of anything. We should, I don't know. I hate to volunteer anyone's time. They need a little footnote at least, though. One is the joint use park, Famosa open space. I don't know if that's considered a park space. Half of that's in OB. Barnes Tennis Center. I'm not even sure how that works. Is that even open to the public? That's in OB.
is there a park there? I did not know that.
Barnes is Mission Beach, I think, or Mission Bay.
The tennis center is just west of Mariners Cove.
Oh, are you talking about that weird little spot that is part of our purview?
Yeah, and it's not something people probably consider a park, except for maybe the small number of people that actually use the actual tennis center. And maybe some of it's leased. I mean, the rec center, is the rec center itself considered park space? I don't know the answer to that one.
I think the rec center is. It's operated by Parks and Rec.
But I mean, would rec center improvements fall under this park master plan? I feel like they.
I think so.
Yes. Yes.
Air conditioning for all.
They certainly need some updating at the rec center, but that's
That's part of our CIP plans, I think.
Okay.
But generally speaking, the boundaries that I've seen, the city does not have well-defined boundaries on these parks. So knowing where it ends I don't know. Dog Beach was one that I looked up very carefully, and I'll be damned if I could figure out the boundaries.
Hopping over to this conclusion page, I think of the parks that I've listed here that are above the 12-point threshold, if you take out Robb Field and Dusty Roads Park, which are not, I guess, our responsibility so much, what we have left are the Spray Street / Brighton Avenue Park, Saratoga Park, and Eber Street Park, which I think, at least for now, focusing on those 3 parks would be what I would think that we should probably move forward with as far as recommendations go. With, of course, presenting all of the information, but really just pushing for those 3 projects. What do you guys think?
I mean, I like those 3.
I mean, I think they all need to be included in some respect, but yeah, certainly we can prioritize the effort on some of these.
I mean, hey, Kevin, the question is if we start putting out all these other little tiny things that could be considered parks, they might just look at our proposal and go, you have so many parks. Why do you need anything else?
I see it as the opposite, actually. I see it as when other community planning groups don't go to this level to advocate for their parks, and Ocean Beach does, we really leapfrog them. The city, in my experience, is all about making their job easier. This is really city level planning. And so I see it as something that they could, they can pick up and run with it. I know, Teddy and Jen Campbell's office, for example, they're eager to, to earn some goodwill with the community and have shown a new, sort of some new energy on some of these type of issues. So let's make the most of it.
Can I ask a question? This is Tom.
Of course, Tom.
So, Nicole, where did the information come from that more than 12 points would give priority in funding?
I believe I saw that in this beginning of the matrix considerations in the park master plan.
Okay, we're going to have to look back at that. I just sent a message to our document expert, Carolyn, and she doesn't remember seeing it, but I would like to comment that what you're discussing tonight does not seem to be related to the park master plan that my group's working on for this reason. There is no money in the citywide park fund. So at best, after this is adopted at some point, maybe 4 or 6 months from now, at best money would accumulate over a period of time. So we might be talking about 1 to 3 years before there's really any appreciable money in the fund. So plus the point system we're looking at now has not been adopted and is extremely likely to change. So
yes, I realize that. I think it was our thinking to get out in front of the issue and really just let them know that the parks in Ocean Beach really could use some updates. These are requests from our community members on what they would like to see in our parks, and just see what happens.
yeah,
it was just kind of like these are all the amenities that we're pushing for are things that we would even push for without a point system. They're all things that we would like to see in the park. So having this point system is just kind of okay, well, if you're gonna put out a point system, we're gonna play by your rules and go ahead and agree to that. But every amenity that we're suggesting or requesting is something that we would request anyways.
Is this presentation something that you all put together, or was information provided by the city?
No, we put it together.
It's very impressive.
Well, it is impressive. It is impressive. I think,
and I also, applaud you for trying to get out ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. Just really examine what you've got and what you want. I think that's wonderful. Like Tom, I have a question about this concept you have that if you reach so many points, it gets priority in funding. I don't know where that came from.
We need to read that. We need to try to find that.
We need to find that out. If you could let us know, that would be helpful too.
Yeah,
sure.
I would like, Nicole, if I could add one more thing. I think Tracy made a comment, are you working against yourself? Well, I think you are by assigning these points. For example, I took a look online at Veterans Park. I think it could be as little as 1/10 of an acre. If you were to suggest that's worth 11 points, you're telling the city that that's equivalent to almost a 3-acre park. So the more points you give to small areas, the more your glass is filled up. And I don't think it's in your favor to assign points. I think it's more in your favor to state that these are park amenities that you need.
Okay. That's an interesting proposition. I see.
I agree.
Yeah, it's like doing Trump's tax returns. You got to undervalue all your stuff.
Well, that makes a really good point, Tom.
I'd be more concerned about if we were, a particularly underparked neighborhood, but we're not too underparked here. So I just pulled up the master plan website, and it's under this, it's the new city park standard is 14 points per 1,000 people.
Yes, we understand that. It's 14 points per, and the original one was 12 points. Then they revised it, made it 14 points. But I was wondering where you got this concept of if a community identifies that a particular park or community has so many points that they get shifted into this tier 1 and get priority for funding. That's the way I'm understanding what you're saying.
Perhaps that was a misunderstanding on my part then.
It's not anything I'm aware of. I may be wrong, but but if it exists, I'd like to know about it. But this is basically the 14 points is really just their new standard, saying they're replacing the park acreage standard, which is acres per thousand, with a point standard of points per thousand. It's 14 points, which could be achieved by land and amenities. Each gets a certain number of points.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But to Tom's point, excuse the pun, the more points you say you have, then that demonstrates the less need you have.
That's right. That's right. That's right. They could take one small park and agree that actually it's worth 23 points, and then you're done. You're done for the next 10 years. You've got your 23 points. So we call it point stuffing, and we're very concerned that the new plan would lead to point stuffing.
I could certainly see how that might come about by, over adding amenities. I think that we're trying to take a balanced approach to that here in Ocean Beach. I certainly see your point, though, about removing this point matrix and just asking for park amenity improvements. That might be the best way to go.
I mean, I think we need to track it in some fashion, and follow with this development of this new Parks Master Plan, because we definitely want to get out in front of that as much as we can and advocate for points. Let's face it, we are a community of existing park space
Rec space
that is in need of amenities in some cases, and we do have to make the most of a small amount of space, and we can do that while advocating for more acreage as well.
Yeah. So I support you in that. I think Park would support you in that. If that's what your community needs, then certainly go for it. If you feel like you don't need the acreage, but you need more amenities, request that. But just be careful how this point system is used, so you're not shooting yourself in the foot with it.
Okay, well, that's great input. Thanks so much. With that, let's see. Let's have a quick conversation about how to keep moving forward on this, and then go ahead and adjourn. I don't think that there's any action that should be taken on this quite yet. Do you want to see this presentation without this scoring matrix and try and put something together for at least Campbell's office and possibly Parks and Rec, just focusing on the 3 park amenity improvements?
I would love to see that something like that where, we have the two maps already, like the floor plans of kind of what we want. And then maybe we could generate something, a drawing for the third one. And then we can make a list of all of the amenities that we're asking for, or my floor plan is so rudimentary compared to the other one.
I thought it was great, Tracy. Thank you for putting that together.
Yours was a lot cheaper.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I think it would be really great to show the park in how we envision it, because it's, it's marketing, show not tell, right? So if we could show an image of what we want, and then also make a list of the amenities that we're requesting without the point system, and then, like Kevin said, track the points, but keep it separate somewhere just in case that point system or the value of the point system comes back up again and we have to apply it. I think that would be valuable for our next iteration for our proposal.
Definitely. That sounds like a great way to move this forward. Okay. I was actually thinking about asking for your help in doing a visualization for Eber Street Park, since I liked the one that you did for Spray Street.
It's like so non-professional.
Well, I think it's great, and we definitely should do one for Eber Street as well. So maybe I'll reach out to follow up with you on that separately.
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, I think with that's a good kind of wrap up to to this meeting. Sorry, we ran a little over time. I too am interested in getting over to the town council statements. Does anyone have any additional things they'd like to share?
So for the minutes, do I just put carried over?
Yeah, we can we do that at our next meeting?
Yeah.
Great.
I have a request. If you feel you could share this presentation with us, or a future revised one, however you want to do it, with or without points, perhaps you could send, I think you have Tom's email, if you could send it to him as a PDF. If you don't feel like you could share it at this point, certainly understand that, but I think it would be helpful to the park group to understand how a more proactive community is going forward in their park planning.
Sure thing. I think perhaps once we get it revised as discussed, we can share that with you.
Thank you.
We're nothing if not proactive.
That's true.
And we're happy again to assist you guys in formulating whatever policy proposals you want to move forward. Like I said, and like we've been saying, it's better if you just write it for them and do the work for the city and be like, this is what we want.
Well, that's good. It's clear you've all given this a lot of thought, and I think you're ahead of a lot of planning groups because of that.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
Great. Well,
yeah,
thank you.
Spending the hour with us, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us to stay.
Great. Well, Tom, I'll reach out and be in touch. And then I don't believe we have a meeting scheduled for next month. I had put this sort of on the every other month schedule. So with that, I suppose I'll see you in March for our March meeting, if not before.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.